Hey Shooby-Doolers, how are you doing? I've been clearing out up in my attic, looking at old artwork, and I found this folder I'm going to show you, along with some other bits too. This is artwork I did back in 1987, one of my very first books. I think it's quite interesting to look through it. So let's not talk about it, let's do it. To see and hear the story read by Shoo, click the link for Shoo's storytelling channel. So this is the inside of the folder. This is the book which finally came out in 1987. 1988, so I'd have been doing the artwork in 1987. And this is the paperback, which came out a year later, which was great in those days. You would sell the hardback and that would come out first, and libraries would pretty much buy them all. And that would cover the advance payment that the publishers had paid me to pay my time while I was doing the artwork. And then a year later it would come out in paperback, and then this was all kind of jam on top. Those were the days. Fantastic. So a lot of this is set in around the village where my mum lived and where I moved to around this time. This was my bedroom and I would look out into the village where everything happened. This is the road coming around over the bridge. There's the school and there's the post office. There's the shop here and there's the church here. So everything kind of happens around here. There's the bus stop, telephone box, everything. So I could look out and watch life going on in this village, and this is kind of what really got me going. And I was sort of newly started being an illustrator, and Philippa Milne Smith, who was my first kind of editor, she said to me one day, you tell stories. You should have a go at writing them. And she said she was looking for a couple of country stories for a town and country series that she was going to publish, and asked me to write 2 stories. And so I thought about, the Wednesday market was the most important day in the village, when you would sort of go off to market. Well, apart from sort of carousing on a Saturday night in the pub. So these are all dummy books that I made. I kind of learned all these bookbinding skills from lots of books and trial and error and stuff. And these are all just to kind of work out what it's going to look like. So this is 1986. So I'd have been making this for my publishers to take with them to the Bologna Children's Book Fair in Italy, in the hope of maybe selling some foreign translation rights. And I can see there's glue missing here. I think maybe I've taken these bits of typesetting from here and stuck them back in here. Because in those days, all this stuff was laser typeset, laser photo typeset, and it was really expensive. So they wouldn't let me have the original. They'd photocopy it, send me a photocopy to work out how it was going to fit in the book. And in those days, it was illustration, text, illustration, text. There's just a hole left for the illustrations. There's not much design going. This is just before the Apple Mac came along and sort of changed everything with desktop publishing and things like that. So these are all kind of, to give a rough idea to other publishers who might want to publish in other languages. These are some other things that I did. They're all a bit yellow because I'd had them on my studio wall in those days. Lots of cigarette smoke. Ugh. So these are a couple of chapels at the bottom of my mother's garden. And then these are kind of, little hummocks and tummocks and things. And that's the view from the back of my mother's garden up into the mountains. Tudor Farm, I think that is. Which I'll show you again in another book when I do Lamb Drover Jim, which is another thing. That's a sort of local tree, I guess. And that's the big house just up the road, Place Talgarth, which is like a holiday place now. And then this is more kind of rocks, the stream, the river which sort of goes through the village. This is the half-title page. And I can't remember the name of this stuff at all, but it's like a kind of a plastic tracing paper, and you can draw straight onto it because it's kind of a ground finished surface. You can draw straight onto it with a Rotring pen or a brush with Indian ink, and do all your lettering over the top. And then this is the artwork for the cover. And Victoria was just a beautiful shape, isn't it? You know, lovely kind of thing. So the real bus that went into market every week was not like that. It's just a kind of a normal bus, which is probably vintage itself now, if it still exists. So here's Mr. Jones going out in the morning to make sure everything's ready, take the chickens out of the engine, and polish up the wheels, and have some breakfast before they go. And unusually, Mrs. Jones is the driver. There's a sort of gender role reversal, which is quite unusual in those days. The thought of a woman driver in 1986-7. Goodness gracious. So they go to this station first, and this should really be Machynlleth Station, which is kind of where the local market was that we went to every week. But in fact, this is based on Slough Station, which is on the Great Western Railway line. And I just love their roofs. They're just these beautiful, beautiful roofs that look like leaves. Mr. Sprout is waiting for Victoria to come, and he's got vegetables and stuff to sell. And Mrs. Featherbed has chickens and eggs. And I based her on a lady who used to live with her brother in a farm up in the hills, and she would come into the village on Thursdays to deliver eggs and cream and milk and butter. And her butter was legendary. So it was homemade butter, and it would come in these beautiful bright yellow sort of pats with her little stamp on the top. And if you have never tasted real butter until you've had that butter, to die for, as they say. Mr. Meadows is bringing milk, and he's bringing his old donkey. Nobody ever wants to buy the donkey. He brings it every week. Their donkey's a bit fed up. Had a lot of trouble doing this shininess, I remember. And the Mrs. Lamb, she's got her sheep, and she knits jumpers and things. So they're loading all this stuff on in trailers and things like that onto the back of Victoria. This actual piece of artwork was missing, so it might be in another folder somewhere. I've done 300 books, so it could have sort of slipped out. So I tried rescanning this. I've scanned all this artwork and made it available. Click up here and you can actually see me read this story on my other channel. And in the links below, you'll be able to get a copy of this book if you want to from Kindle Direct Publishing. So I've sort of made it, brought it back to life. So I didn't have a copy of this, so I thought I'm going to have to redo it. I didn't have a pen thin enough. In those days, I used to use a Rotring rapidograph, and it was very, very fine nib. And I tried using the back of my Fude pen to get a very fine line. It wasn't quite fine enough. So I've now got myself some really fine Rotring Tikky graphic pens to see if I can get this style back again. It's really interesting. And I stopped using these really, really fine ones because if you just draw with them, it kind of wears them down. The paper's like sandpaper. But I've just realised you can be very gentle with them as well. Which is a whole new concept. There's Victoria going off up the hill, and poof, the engine's broken down, so they have to get out and push. And the donkey's getting fed up, and he sees Mr. Meadows and things, poof. And I remember at the time, so being a very new writer, wondering how do I explain that he's going to kick him, you know. And so I was being very polite about the way I wrote it. And Philippa just said, no, he's going to kick him in right in his great big round fat bottom. And so, I'm allowed to use words like big round fat bottom, am I? So anyway, that sort of solved that problem. Victoria goes shooting off down the hill, leaving everybody else behind. And this is very much the countryside around Pentel and Machynlleth. Lived and worked in every day. Here's the new engine for Victoria, which has been waiting for a while. And Jim, the farmhand, brings in all the trailers and brings everybody back down to market. And they have a good day at the market as a guy buys the donkey. He gives rise to children on the seaside, which I'm not sure if that's legal anymore. I think donkeys aren't allowed to do that anymore. I don't know. So that's what happens. And then on Sundays, they now drive down to the seaside, take some children to have rides on the donkey at the seaside. And this is very much based on Abu Dhabi. It's not a direct kind of portrait of Abu Dhabi, but it's kind of very much based on it, and with the sort of iconic bandstand up on the top of the hill. It must have been fun in the old days down on the beach with the band playing up on the top. This would have been done for the printers, and sort of gives sort of ideas. This for reference, and this would be the original laser printing here. I can see some scratching has gone on there, so obviously there was some kind of mess on the thing. And little instructions, 87%. And here's a rough. Well, it's a sort of finished rough, sort of designing Victoria and what she was going to look like. So she's kind of an amalgam of all sorts, and it's not a straight copy of a classic bus or anything like that, but it's kind of an amalgam of all sorts. You didn't have Google Images in those days, so I must have got sort of a book of buses or something, I don't know. And this is the stuff that didn't make it. These are two pieces of artwork that didn't make it, felt they weren't quite right. This is the end paper. Those are the days. Most books go straight to paperback nowadays, and so you don't kind of get these beautiful end papers like you used to do. And it's kind of the most exciting part of designing a book then, the end papers. And this is another one that didn't quite make it. I obviously got that far. There was something I didn't like. I don't think I like these light bulbs, and nowadays I'll just get rid of them with Photoshop, but there you go. And here again, I didn't like this one because the milk chans looked so grey, and now I think actually that's kind of what they do look like. But anyway, I just did a bit of working out how to make them look shiny. And then I came across this. So these are rough Victoria at the county show. I've forgotten all about this. The Victoria the Wednesday Monks coming on the Christmas leaflet. So this is for the Puffin Book Club. Kate and Dandy Lamb have been helping their dad grooming 6 sheep. I don't remember any of this. So this is a story. I moved on from a dot matrix printer to a daisy wheel printer by this stage on my typewriter thingy. So these were the Lamb family who were taking the sheep to market. I don't know where the originals are. Maybe they never came back. And this is artwork that I did for the Puffin Post, the Puffin magazine that would sort of go out there. Hence that bit about coming on the Christmas leaflet, letting you know that you'll be able to buy the books. So it's a bit of marketing, really. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that. And thanks for watching, and make sure you're subscribed to the Shoo Rayner drawing channel and keep coming back for lots more drawing videos and stuff about illustration and things like that. In the meantime, keep drawing, practice, and I'll see you next time. You take care now. Bye bye.